Alright, hello folks. Today we're going to be working on this pull-behind brush mower, and we're actually going to be selling it, most likely. We have someone who's willing to buy it, so we didn't have a battery for it, so we got a battery. But the problem is, it stopped cranking like it would at first. I went to start it, and it didn't start because it had some carb issue, but then the starter solenoid went on it. And because the batteries got charged, and you can jump directly to the motor, you can see the little like scorch marks where it sparked to the motor, but I put a piece of metal across, and it did crank over then, but it wouldn't do it on its own. So this starter solenoid, which is I'm sorry, you probably can't see anything right in there, is I think bad. So I'm going to be pulling it off, and we'll probably have to buy a new one. I'm gonna need a good old breaker bar in here. Oh, the bottom bolt's even harder to get to. Is there like a nut on the inside of there that is spinning? There's gotta be, which means I have to take off which means I gotta take off this back access panel, unfortunately, which is gonna be a pain. Yeah, there is nuts on the back side. That's why it was so difficult. Alright, we got off our starter solenoid, and it definitely does have a part number on it, so it hopefully won't be too hard to find a replacement. And then hopefully we'll be back in business with this thing. Alright, we're back working on the DR brush mower here, and we got a starter solenoid for it, and so let's hope that fixes the problem. Alright, so this one is slightly different, but it should work. It has two thingy-mabobs right here, whereas the other one had a top one and a bottom one and just one on the side. But I think it should work. So before I do anything, I'm going to actually review the footage and make sure I'm cooking all the correct wires to where they're supposed to go, because that's probably pretty important. Okay, I think I have it figured out. I think. It's kind of complicated, but let's see what we can do here. Alright, we got all the wires hooked up, I think, in the correct order. Alright, it's time to bolt this new solenoid on, which probably will be tricky, especially since I have to work right directly around the camera. Alright, so our solenoid's in place. So now all we have to do really is plug the wires in and see if she goes. If I install everything correctly, it should. Now, I don't know which one of these two poles to put the wire on, this white wire, which actually goes to the blade kill switch. So if that doesn't work for some reason, if something's off with that, then I can just switch it to the top one and see if that works. Alright, so I'll plug in our positive and our negative. Nothing's smoking or on fire, so that's a good sign. Let's see if she'll crank. So that's on, and then, well, that's not good. That's really not good. Alright folks, I found the smoking gun. It's another fuse. So we were looking at this one, but there's this one right here. And I was reading the owner's manual, and it said there are 2 fuses in the ignition system. 2 of them. And so I just checked this one. And this one, sure enough, there's no wire in there, but you can see some little burnt chunks of the wire that was in there. Probably not on this camera, but so I don't have any. This is a 7.5 amp fuse. I don't have any 7.5 amp fuses, but we still have that box of 20 amp fuses, so I'm just going to pop one of those in and it'll probably be fine. If you just happen to pass that much current through, it's just because they're smaller wires, so it might not be able to handle it. It's been replaced now, so it should work. Yep. Now I just got to make sure it has fuel, because there's still a fueling issue, potentially. It does have gas in there. And it was getting gas up to the fuel pump, because I took off the fuel line and it was spraying out of there. So as long as this fuel shutoff solenoid is working correctly, which it may not be, this guy should crank up. So we'll put it on choke here. Might need a tiniest little bit of starting fluid. No, it fired. I think that was on its own. Take off the choke. Oh, it's so close. Put the choke on again. Alright, we'll give it a little touch more starting fluid. Well, actually you didn't see me put any in it, but I've done some tests prior to this, but yes. Yeah, it started on starting fluid. But it does not want to start on its own. It's got to be that fuel shutoff solenoid, because the jets are clear. I checked. I poked my torch tip cleaner up through the jets, and they're clear. It's got to be this guy. Maybe I hooked the wires up wrong. Well, I'm just glad we got the electrical system working correctly, at least so far. I mean, gotta check the fuses. They're the most simple thing, and the cheapest too, so we went out and bought a whole new starter solenoid for no reason, but it was only like $13, so it's not that bad. Try a little bit more here. Alright, I put more gas in it, so that might have been the issue. Choke. I blew out the air filter with compressed air. It's pretty dirty because we had used it up in California for a few seasons, and it is dusty up there. Down there, I guess, from Oregon. One issue is we're missing one of these things. I have no idea where it went. So we only have one, which is suboptimal. But it runs, and it runs good. And we're gonna put the correct fuse in there. This is for testing purposes. Alright, now that it's running, I'm gonna run it just a little bit more to get the oil warmed up, and then we're gonna give it an oil change. Don't want to make a mess on the floor. So it's got this convenient little drain spout thingy. Actually, the oil was probably already pretty warm because it's so hot out here, but it also helps mix up any sediment that's at the bottom, so it'll drain out better. I do not know how much this holds. Oh no. Well, it broke that little thing. It's probably pretty dry rotted from sitting out in the sun. The plastic. At what level is this oil? Oh, yep, there she comes. Alright. It's going to be obscured by this frame rail a little bit. The battery's in the way. Air-cooled engines heat up really fast, especially small engines. This is a 500cc engine, by the way. This oil is very warm. This is a 2018 model. I need to figure out something out. The oil actually looks pretty clean on the dipstick, but you can see that the oil that's in there is not pretty clean. I mean, it's not the worst I've ever seen. It's actually not too terrible, but it is pretty black. It's definitely due for an oil change. Alright, so now we'll take off the oil filter, if it will so kindly come off. So often these things are over tightened. Oh, I got it, I think. You know what, I probably should put a rag down here because they always... Come on. Yeah. oil's hot. No. Oh dear. Okay. That was a mess. Boy, that oil is nice and toasty. Yeah, these things do not drain out very well. Put a little dab of oil around here, like this. And we'll go screw it on before this thing leaks more. It's just like an automotive oil filter, pretty much, just a little smaller. It says it takes SAE 30 weight, so we'll just be putting some 10W30 in it. Alright, well now that my hands have been nice and moisturized, it's time to fill this thing up with oil. So, I'm not sure exactly how much it takes, but I'll estimate and just check it. Alright, yep, needs a little bit more. Perfect, right up to the full line. Okay. Alright, she's been given an oil change now.
Well, it took a few weeks, but we got it sold, and the gentleman was quite happy to get it, and hopefully it can be now used again and won't just be sitting rotting away on our property. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.